The Twin Cities Marathon is coming up in October, where thousands of men and women will pace through 26.2 miles to reach their goal times or just to finish. But one competitive distance runner in Coon Rapids is skipping that race with even bigger goals in mind.
I've run pretty much my whole life, high school and college.
The pinnacle of competitive distance running for most ends at the 26.2 mile mark, the length of a marathon race. During his time competing in the sport, Bob Gerens of Coon Rapids learned of races with finish lines much farther away.
When I look back at their older results, they never got 50% of the people that started to finish, and they had like 800 runners, and I'm going, wow, let's do this. And so I didn't tell anybody I was thinking about this. I'm going to do a 100-mile race. And so I figured out a plan in my head, what I wanted to do.
I didn't know if I wanted to be the one at the finish line mopping him up after he tried to complete something like that.
Bob made it through his first 100-mile race in 2012 and found more each year. Looking for an even greater challenge outside of Minnesota's flat terrain, he found it.
People say, why are you doing a 100-mile? What are you doing? Why are you going to do another one? You already finished one. I almost feel like I'm still kind of testing myself and seeing where the limits are.
The Hard Rock 100 is a 100-mile course that features steep climbs into elevations reaching more than 14,000 feet.
That's a lot of mountain climbing. Obviously, the first goal is to finish it. My speed goal was to be able to finish before the sun went down on the second day.
Runners who don't finish the race in 48 hours don't get a time and are labeled DNF for did not finish. Bob's training intensified.
And every month I had goal mileage, and the next month would be a little further, a little further, and a little further. You know that it's going to pay off in the end when you're out there and you're tired and you've put in your miles, you lifted your weights, you've done those long workouts. Like we put together workouts for 12-hour workout or 18-hour workout to simulate being awake for that long. We all start together in one mass in this little town of Silverton, and it was more or less on a gravel road, and we just headed off into the mountains.
Reaching high elevations challenged Bob and the rest of the runners throughout the course.
Once I started getting up over 13,000 feet, the oxygen is just lower, and your body just naturally starts slowing down, especially when you're not acclimated to that.
Through the 2 full days, he spent only 200 minutes resting.
At an aid station, they'll have water, they'll have foods. At night, they have coffee. This one had a lot of opportunities to eat there.
Bob returned to the course and battled tired feet and an exhausted mind.
You slow down at night, things get cold, the temperature drops in the mountains. You know, after 24 hours, you're getting tired and your mind's going, yeah, I'm ready to stop, and you just gotta learn just to stick with it and trust your people to help you keep moving along. You think about a lot of things. You think about remodeling your house. You think about maybe I should not, I should take a couple months off from training and spend time with the family. And after about 50 miles, you start rethinking the same things over and over again.
One distraction is the beauty of their surroundings.
You can see snow-capped mountains all around you, and we came up and went right over the top and down the other side.
After the halfway point, friends Gary Lamott and Greg Lecheski of Coon Rapids were able to join Bob on his journey toward the finish line.
At a 50-mile mark in most 100-mile races, you can pick up a pacer. As soon as you pick up a pacer, then there's other things to think about. You could talk with somebody, and they can help you keep your mind on other things besides your sore feet.
I went into it with the attitude of whatever he asked of me to do, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability to help him be successful in his goal of finishing the Hard Rock. We started out in the town of Ore, which was at 7,500 feet, and 6 miles later we were at 13,000 feet.
Bob's crew chief and wife, Sue Gerens, waited at aid stations to supply Bob with calories, care, and encouragement.
Oh, there's always usually a kiss before he leaves the aid station. But he was pretty positive in this race for the most part, you know, except maybe right before that last 9-10 mile stretch. But basically, I just told him, well, you know, quitting isn't an option, so, and you know that, and he would be so disappointed if we did let him quit, so it wasn't too big of an issue.
I did have the pleasure of taking Bob into the finish on this one. We started at mile 91, and we had 8 hours to do 9 miles. So, you know, the last thing Sue said to me as we took off is make sure you get him in on time, make sure he finishes.
After 44 hours and 46 minutes, putting one foot in front of the other, up and down the San Juan Mountains, Bob finished the race more than 3 hours ahead of his goal.
I just helped get him there, but watching my friend complete this incredible goal was very satisfying and happy to be a part of it.
Felt really cool, especially to be a part of everything like that, and see all the people that were there, and just to be out there was really neat.
It was so exciting to finish, and what they have is they have a big rock with the logo of the event on there, and you come in and you kiss the rock, and it's just a relief to stop running and be able to complete something like that within the allotted time, especially when you're not, that's not even your environment, that's not where you live in flat country.
Knowing that this is pretty much the hardest 100-mile race in the country, and it's been a goal of his for a few years, and the fact that he got picked from a small lottery of people and was able to go out there and finish it was pretty special.
This was my 10th 100-mile race. I ran my first one in 2012, and then since then I've just done a couple a year.
Greg and Gary, who ran with Bob for much of the race, have seen the benefits too.
After meeting Bob and seeing him run the 100-mile distance, I actually jumped to a 50-mile.
I got my first 100 coming up in 28 days. Climbing up and down the mountains from 3 in the morning till 9 at night, that one day probably a lot of times on my feet, and climbing up and down probably helped out.
He does offer encouragement to anyone with fitness or distance running goals in mind.
Just like somebody else likes to bike or swim, I like to run, and there's just that freedom out there. It's a stress relief, and when you're just starting it out, start out slow. You know, do a couple days a week and figure it out. Don't go too hard. For one thing, you're going to be sore, and you have to get through that soreness to really start appreciating what the benefits are. If you quit after you get sore, then you're just going to be in that sort of cycle.
Typical response is, I don't even like to drive that far. People just think it's crazy, and on the outset, I guess it is, but when you get into it and start training and realizing that it's actually attainable, it's pretty good.
I'd encourage anybody to come out and do it. It's a great way to stay fit.
Just go in with a positive attitude, knowing that, you know, if I go out and I say I want to do 3 runs this week, but I only get 2 in, don't say, oh, I'm a failure, I'm not going to get this program. Just go out the next week and get your 3 runs. And then after 3 weeks, go 4 runs or something like that. But start into it slow, but with a positive attitude that you're just going to build up as you go along.
There are even longer races like the Fat Dog in Canada that extends to 120 miles, but Bob says he has no plans to go past 100.